Hi everybody, I am Rihanna with Venture Soul, and today I am doing something kind of by request. Somebody in one of the groups that I'm in on Facebook, Amanda, who is in the Belladonna Dyes group with me, asked me to show you all how I skein things up and tie them off. She's doing some macrame cord, so I decided I would also do some macrame cord to show you. So I have it in a ball because I tried to film this video once already and my dog bumped my chair and I didn't realize that it was off size until I was done. But so what I'm doing is I'm measuring out 1 yard between these two chairs. The ball of macrame cord I have here happens to be 100 yards, but I'm just gonna show you guys how I would part it out from a larger cone. It was on a little cone, but like I said, I kind of messed up on it and I had to take it all apart and start over again. So what I'm gonna do is I've measured this out to be 1 yard. And I'm gonna count the number of rounds that I do. I'm gonna mark it down every 10 rounds. So every 10 yards, I'm gonna make a mark on my paper until I have 100 yards, 10 marks. I don't mind if he's thinking. Okay. That's my baby making noise in the background. Please don't mind him. He's a very vocal little guy. So this time I'm just gonna try to keep a little better of a hold on my chairs to make sure that doesn't happen again. I'm gonna go ahead and start counting. I'm gonna speed this video up and we'll check back at the end. So there we are. We made it around. Now I'm gonna allow these to get a little closer, these chair ends. I'm gonna make sure I don't have any problem pieces here. Okay, yeah, good. And I'm gonna pull this end out, and I've got this end. Now, there's two different ways that you can do this. Sometimes I will just take these two ends and I will wrap them around a few times. And hang on. Okay, so there are two ways that we can do this. Sometimes I will just take these two ends and I will twist them and then wrap them around a few times like this, and then tie them off and just let the two ends be free. However, Amanda specifically had asked to show how to tie something off so that you can kind of spread it out and still have it not get too tangled up when you're ice dyeing. So what I do for that is I take the end, each end, and I do a wrap around like this through multiple pieces. So, and you can do this with a separate piece of cord also. I'm just doing it with the end piece here because I find that to be easier. But it doesn't really matter if you do it with the piece that you have, or if you do it with a separate piece. The point is just that you are securing these in kind of like segments here, so that they don't get all hung up on each other when you're kind of spreading them out, and especially if you have to flip them over or anything. This will make it a lot easier to do that without getting a big tangle. The other thing that I will show later in this video, and that you guys have probably seen me do in other videos if you've watched my other videos, is I will put a zip tie on this. And that way, when we are dyeing and when we are washing, we have something to hang on to keep from tangling everything up. So there's one end secured, and I just twisted it over it or under itself twice on that end there. And then I'm going to take this side and I'm going to do the same thing. I'll do it over here actually, so you guys can see again what I'm doing. So I'm taking a section and I'm pulling it kind of tight there. And then I'm taking the next section and I'm going over that too. I'm pulling it under this piece right here, so it's tight on itself. And then I'm going under here and I'm giving myself on this one, I might go back and actually redo that side when this video is done, but I gave myself a little extra space on this one. Yeah, you know what, I'm going to redo that other side, but so that I can tie this off more securely. So I'm looping it under here and back through here and pulling it tight. Yeah, and we'll do the same on this one. I'm just going to adjust it so that we have the same kind of thing going on. That'll just make it more secure. I did it kind of haphazardly over on this side, so we're just going to back it off a little bit, and I'll show this one more time. So we've got our end here, right here, and get these loops back over the chair, and we're going to take a section and we're going to loop through it, and we're going to pull through that loop, and then we're going to take another section and we're going to go under and around and then pull that tight, and then back over, go under, pull it through so it's a little knot there, and then take this and go back through on itself. I mean, you guys can really do this however you want. This is just how I do it. And then you pop it off your chair ends, and you've got this skein that is secured on itself with the ends. So then if you take, when you get to dyeing this and washing it, if you take a zip tie and you put it right here, then you'll have 3 points of secureness here, and that'll keep it from getting too tangled. The other thing that I would recommend, and I probably won't show this because it takes a little bit of time and I don't want to make my video too long, but the other thing that I might recommend to avoid tangling when you go to re-skein it or ball it up when you're done, or when you're done and after it's dry is what I'm talking about. You're gonna want to put it in a ball before you try to re-skein it. I usually re-skein all of my yarn, not all of it, but a lot of it I will end up re-skeining because I think it looks nicer when you can see all the colors, like not in patches, but kind of reordered next to each other. But if you have this much fiber and you try to just take it from a skein like on your wrist like this and start wrapping it around the back of your chairs, or if you have an umbrellaswift, which I really want to get, or something similar to that, a nitty naughty, or whatever you're using to create your skein. If you try to do it straight off your wrist onto one of those, oftentimes with this much fiber, you're going to end up with a tangle. And once it's being skeined onto something, you're not going to be able to feed that back through the tangle to untangle it easily. And it's going to be a big mess. So I highly recommend, if you're taking it from the skein you just created here and you're trying to re-skein it, to reorder it when you're done, which you don't have to do, but if you are doing that, I highly recommend winding it into a ball first and then re-skeining it from there. And that's all for this segment. We'll be back with dyeing it. Oh, one more thing I wanted to say. With all yarn, it's less of a thing with crochet thread or embroidery thread, but I find that with almost all yarn, and the thicker the yarn, so DK and up basically, and when you're talking about macrame cord, anything that's this thick, which this is 1 millimeter thread, I think, 1 millimeter cord, let's see, yeah, this is 1 millimeter cord. Anything this thick or thicker, you're gonna want to submerge in water before you dye it. I don't pre-soak things in soda ash because I don't think it's necessary. I just add the soda ash when I dye. However, when it comes to something that's this thick or thicker, I find that oftentimes it's a little bit hydrophobic, and particularly with macrame cord, this one isn't, but some macrame cord is waxed, just lightly, or oiled or something. It has something on it. I'm assuming to help it catch on itself when one is making macrame. But that will repel water. So if you're trying to do an ice dye or a liquid dye, or anything basically that doesn't involve pouring hot water directly onto your fiber, you're gonna get white patches. That's what I've found. So before you dye this, what you're gonna wanna do is put your zip tie on it, which I don't have one handy, but I'll show the zip tie later. But you're gonna wanna put your zip tie on it. You're gonna wanna fill up your sink with hot water, or get a pot and heat up some water, and then submerge your yarn in it completely. I find that this is especially necessary if you are doing a ball dye or like a cake dye, which I really like to do, where you dye, where you apply the dye directly to like the ball or the cake that it comes in. You're really gonna want to have some hot water touching all the yarn and make sure that it's saturated before you try to force dye through it with ice. If you try to force dye through a ball as it comes wound, or a cake as it comes wound, without pre-soaking it, you are gonna get white patches. It's just gonna be really hard to get the water to travel all the way through. So yeah, that's just my thing. So what I'm gonna do with this, I'm gonna take this to my sink. I'm gonna fill my sink up with really hot water. I'm gonna drop this into my sink, swish it around a bit with a zip tie on it so I keep something to keep a hold on. Or I mean, you could just grab it like this and swish it around in a sink or a pot. Or even grab it with tongs. I mean, whatever works for you. I use a zip tie. I think that it makes it really easy. But you're gonna wanna, or I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna submerge it in hot water for probably no more than like 5 minutes. I mean, you can let it pre-soak for as long as you want to, but I'm just trying to get this saturated so that it's not hydrophobic when I go to dye it. So I'll see you guys back with the dyeing process. And yeah, there we go. Hi everybody, I'm back to do the dye here. So I soaked this for a while yesterday. I kind of forgot about it and left it in my sink. And then I hung it up to dry. I have some color on that. I wonder what it touched. Whoops. Okay, well, anyways, it won't matter once I get all the rest of the color on there. But here's a reminder to make sure your containers are clean before you use them. But anyways, I hung this up to dry in my shower from the zip tie. I have a little thing that holds like a scrubby or a brush, so I just hung this zip tie on it instead, making sure that I'm in the frame here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just take this and kind of loop it around in this container. I'll try to get the zip tie out of the way so that it's not stopping the dye from hitting the fiber here. I'm gonna get my mask on. And I'm going in with Ashes to Ashes, which I haven't had a chance to put in a container yet because I just got it. Strawberry Skies and Hurricane Bay. I'm being a little bit poetic with my color choices today. So I'm gonna do Strawberry Skies first. And it's important when you're doing this to remember where the placement is of your fiber or yarn. So I have the two ends right here, and I have the middle part right here. And I want the Strawberry Sky to be on the two ends. Or maybe I'm gonna do it, you know what? I'm gonna do it a little differently, and I'm gonna go at a diagonal instead. So I'm gonna try to go kind of light on this. I have a tendency to be a little heavy-handed, but I find particularly with these Happy Cat colors that you get better splits if you go a little lighter with them. I say as I'm on my 4th quarter teaspoon. They're not full though. Alright, so I'm gonna do Strawberry Sky followed by Ashes to Ashes, and then Hurricane Bay, and then I might add a little more Strawberry Sky to this corner here. I'm going to go ahead and speed up my video. Okay, so we have all of our dye on, and I am now going to, sorry, I didn't realize that wasn't quite in the frame all the way. I'm now going to add this ice. I'm using this convenient bar ice here. I will put a link in the description box to where I got the ice cube trays for this. They were from Amazon. They're really inexpensive, and I like them a lot. They're really great, especially if you're using square containers for like a muck dye like this. And then just for fun, I'm going to actually go in with some... Then I decided that just for fun, I'm going to go ahead and dust over the top a little bit of periwinkle on top of the ice. Just for a little bit of difference. All these colors kind of share some of the same hues that you find in the periwinkle. Maybe least the Strawberry Skies, but All of these kind of have things in the same color family, and so that's why I'm kind of going with this. Sometimes I like to do things that are really contrasty. Oops. Careful with your dyes, people. Okay, I don't want to put too much on. Periwinkle is kind of a vivacious color, and I don't want it to take over, so I'm just gonna dump that little bit out there that I spilled. Luckily it got caught on the cap. And then we're just gonna let this sit for a while. I will come back at some point and check and see if it looks like it needs more ice, and add more if it does. I'm actually probably gonna go sit this out in my yard because it looks like we might get rain. So I'm probably going to go sit this out on my patio and see if it collects any rain. I might, and actually I just realized I forgot to add my soda ash. Ha ha ha. Okay, so since I don't pre-soak in soda ash, I have to remember to add soda ash on top. Okay, we'll be back with an update of some kind. Either it'll be the washout, or I'll let you know what happened if I added hot water, or if we got any rain, or what I ended up needing to do. All right, we'll be back. So it is the next morning. I left this out overnight. I kind of, excuse me, kitty, kind of forgot about it. I want the water level to be a little bit higher, so I am gonna come back and add some hot water in a few minutes. I have the kettle on. I'm gonna let it come to a boil, and then I'm gonna take it off the heat and let it cool for a little bit, and then come and add some to this tub here. And yeah, there we go. Okay, so here we are. We're gonna add our hot water to this Tupperware. Now I'm doing this outside because this particular Tupperware is really old. I don't actually know where it came from, and I want to do it outside just in case it, you know, like splits apart and breaks. So I'm basically just filling this up with hot water. I'm going to leave it out here. I'll probably just leave it out here for the rest of the day. Yeah, and then I will come back this afternoon probably and rinse this out. And here we are with the washout on our macrame. So sometimes I like to try to save my dye water, but at this point I have a ton building up, and I'm gonna give this one a little like tissue test and see if it has any interesting like color splitting. Oh, it does. Okay, well maybe I'll save this one because this one might be a fun one to dip dye into with the kind of color split on there that we're seeing already, how it's this kind of purple gray into this teal. So for that, I will take this jar and I will just dump my water. Oh, making a huge mess. Dump it into here. That's a lot. Okay. Anyways. Yeah, look at that color. Could make some really nice dip dye. Okay, so here we have our macrame. It just looks like a lot of purple right now. We're going to rinse it out. We're going to start by rinsing it in cold water. I don't know with yarn, especially things that have been muck dyed like this, whether that's totally necessary. I know with like dyed fabric, like tie-dyed fabric and stuff, that oftentimes you want to start with cold because you want to rinse the soda ash out without the hot water, because hot water will open up the fibers and allow them to take more dye. So you want to rinse the soda ash out and stop that reaction before you add the hot water. With yarn, or anything that's muck dyed, really, I don't know that that's really necessary. Maybe I'll do a side-by-side comparison sometime. I don't know. But anyways, container's rinsed out. That's going to go to the side. And we're just going to go at this. Okay, so you can already see a lot of the kind of different hues starting to come out in this yarn. It's really, really pretty. Or macrame cord, it's not yarn. Yeah, it's looking really, really pretty. So now I'm going to grab a bucket that I have on hand. I'm just going to set this in the bucket. I'm going to use a jar to add some hot water. And I'm just going to let this soak. This bucket doesn't fit in my sink very well, so that's why we're using a jar to fill it up. Yeah, and you can see, I'm sure, watching this, you know, why I use the zip tie. It makes it a lot easier to control the yarn and not allow it to get tangled. I mean, sometimes I'm still going to end up with a tangle, but it minimizes it really significantly. So yeah, I'll just finish filling this up. I'll probably let it soak out overnight. I'll change the water once or twice, and then hopefully by tomorrow I'll be able to hang it up to dry. And that's going to be it. You'll see me back with the conclusion, or possibly I'm thinking about adding a re-skeining of this as part of the video as well, so you can see how it goes from how it looks right now to what I end up having at the end of the day. So we'll see. It depends on what I have time for. Alright, see you back later. Okay, so I'm going to add to this video the re-skeining process, because if you look at this as it is, you know, oops, light's not on. Pardon me. If you look at this as it is, you know, it's pretty, but it's not terribly appealing. It looks like a mess, which it's not as much of a mess as it looks like. So we're going to take off our handy dandy zip tie here. Okay, that's not a knife, by the way, it's just a little like pick thing. So I'm not worried about like stabbing myself or anything. Okay, so we're going to find where we tied this off. Find where we tied it off, and we're going to untie it. It's going to be a little bit should have. Okay. I'm gonna keep a hold on it so I don't lose the skein here. Okay. That is my little baby providing some wonderful musical entertainment for us. Take it away, Adrian. Okay, so here we go. We've got it in our round here. This shouldn't get too tangled since it's macrame cord. So I'm gonna go ahead and drop it into my bowl here. And then I'm just gonna do what I did last time. Now I have these measured 24 inches apart. That's gonna give us a round of 48 inches. And then once it's twisted up into that nice pretty hank, it's gonna be 12 inches. So that's the thing, like whatever the round is, half of that is gonna be the length, like just if you laid it out on the table, the straight length of the skein. And then once it's twisted up, it's gonna be half that length. So this part, since we've already measured, it doesn't really matter how long it is. It just matters how long you want your final twist to be. And we're just gonna go at this. I'm gonna speed this up and then I'll show you how I twist it at the end. Okay, this has turned into a huge mess. I can't use this. It's just too much to have to do on camera. Okay, so we're back. I ended up off camera rolling this into a ball because I got it into a big tangle and it was just gonna take too long to do it on camera. But I'm gonna still include that part in this video, or you'll have already seen that by the time you're watching this part. I'm including that part in the video because it's kind of a do as I say, not as I do. I said at the beginning of the video that if you are using something that's thick like this, that you should really roll it into a ball before you try to re-skein it. And what you see happen in this video is a perfect example of that. So, without further ado, we're gonna go ahead and re-skein this and then film our conclusion. Okay, so we're at the end here, and instead of doing what we did when we skeined it originally, we're just gonna tie it off very simply with a couple of twists, going around one time and giving it a simple double knot. And there it is, all re-skeined and beautiful. You can see how different the kind of color balance looks. To me, this gives a much better kind of visual of all of the hues and colors that are actually in the yarn or cord than when it's in its skein from being dyed. And then so real quick, I'll show you how I twist them up. Make sure these ends are squared away. You can just give it a little snap like that. And then make sure you've got a nice grip on it. Twist until it almost seems like it's more twisted than it should be. And then go ahead and wrap it around something like the back of that chair. Pop one side through the other side. And this is your twisted up hank of yarn. That one's a little sloppy, so I'm gonna do it over again. So I'm gonna grab the end that has the tie, and I'm gonna grab the other end like this and give it a good snap. And sometimes I'll kind of like flatten my hand out, sort of try to sometimes if I have ones that seem like they're a little uneven, I'll actually do this. I'll actually do this on a kitchen cabinet handle so that I can really pull it out flat. But yeah, just like this. And then, oops, I lost a loop there. Basically as tight as you can twist it. I wanted to show this part because I have had people ask me how I, you know, get my yarn all dressed up for photos, how I get it looking the way that it does. And this is how I do it. I re-skein it, and then I twist it into a hank. And I don't re-skein everything. I only do that if I feel like it benefits the overall look of the yarn, where someone will basically be able to get a better view when they're looking at it of the final colorway. Which this one I really feel like that was the case, because there are a lot of tones in here from, you know, like the Strawberry Skies and the Hurricane Bay particularly. Probably the Ashes to Ashes too. That one's also a pretty complex color. But there are a lot of tones in here that that were sort of hidden away in the original skein form that I had dyed it in. So that's how I do that. I'm gonna wrap this up in a conclusion video right here. I don't have a whole lot to say that I haven't already said. I feel like this colorway came out really cool, really pretty. This is a really good example again of why you wind it into a ball before you try to re-skein it. Yeah, I'm happy with this. I hope, Amanda, that this answered all of your questions. If you have any follow-up questions, feel free to ask me. For everybody else, I am open to taking other questions and suggestions. If there's something that you see that I post and you want to know how I did it, and you want to see a video on how I made a specific thing, please let me know. Shoot me a message on Facebook, Rihanna Williams on Facebook, or drop me a comment here on YouTube, or on Instagram. If you follow me on Instagram, I'm Vinter Soul Creates. yeah, I'd be more than happy to show any of my processes in a video. You just have to ask. Also really happy to take requests if there's somebody who wants a custom colorway for something that they'd like to purchase, and you want a video with like a shout out, or to see a video along, you know, of the dyeing of the yarn that you want custom made for you. Very, very happy to do that as well. Just again, go ahead and reach out to me and I'm more than happy to oblige. Yeah, as always, if you want to make something, all you need is a dream in your heart and a desire to put that dream into motion. And if no one ever told you you could, well, you can, and that's it. Peace out, my friends.